Now, I would like to see the popular election of senators done away with. I would like to see state legislatures send members of the Senate to the Senate, because then they wouldn't be stealing power from the states, or those senators would soon be out of their jobs. The federal government didn't begin to grow to gargantuan proportions until the progressive era, with the popular election of senators who were able to pander to the collectivist impulses of the masses and deliver as big a piece of pie as they could and create the permanent underclass that relied on them for support and returned it with votes.
Very well said. Let's come back and talk about constitutional ways to apply what you just discussed, because if we do get the grand juries to start investigations and call for indictments, if we do get the states to pass laws saying our employees will not comply with this, that's all completely constitutional, and other ideas, other solutions, because there's a lot of people listening right now. Folks are paying attention to these issues right now. Folks are angry. Now is the time to take what Judge Napolitano is saying, and I totally agree with him, and to put it into force. Now is the time. The Democrats have said they think you're going to forget about this and they can slowly implement it, and that's how they're going to domesticate us. We say no. My friends, if you've studied history and other empires, nations, republics, corruption grows slowly, like an infection, and then it blooms and the nation falls. And the elites that have become wealthy and powerful will use a police state to try to maintain control of the population that they've robbed. And we've seen a premeditated development of this police state in their internal documents to suppress the American people. It's the same thing worldwide. And now you have these elites going offshore, forming a global government, openly saying a bank of the world that you will pay all your carbon taxes to. We're going to talk about that in the next segment with Judge Andrew Napolitano, author, a best-selling author of multiple books. His new book is out. We'll tell you about the book and get into it before he leaves us. But getting back into solutions on this Obamacare, Judge,
right?
Am I right in saying that this is pretty much the make-it-or-break-it issue? If we give in to this, and if we can't defeat this, then the sky's the limit for these tyrants.
It is. And Vice President Biden admitted as much yesterday when he said if we hadn't have passed this, we would have been toothless. And now that we've passed this, we have a lot else that we need to do. First of all, we know that the next 8 months is going to be a rush to legislation, because they know, they're not stupid, they know that they will never have the majorities in the Congress after November, if there is a November election, that they have now. So they're going to try and regulate as much as they can in the next 8 months. But think about how insidious this is. The Supreme Court has ruled countless times that the most private conversation you have, the one most utterly immune from governmental intrusion, is with your physician. More so than with your spouse, it's with your physician. This legislation purports with the stroke of a pen to do away with generations of that protection by putting a federal bureaucrat between you and your physician and permitting the bureaucrat to dictate to the physician what services are available to you and how much money is available for those services.
And it says they can share it with any federal agency they want.
And it says that those decisions by the bureaucrat are not appealable. Everything under the sun that the government does, except the Supreme Court, because that's the last appeal, is appealable. But this legislation says it's not appealable. So they violate your right to privacy. They violate your right to talk to your physician without the government there. They violate your right to the privacy of your medical records. They decide how much money is available to pay your physician for the services that you may need. Is this the government that the framers gave us? Or is this, as you say, Alex, so nicely, the breaking point? Is this the point beyond which they cannot go? Now, that leads us to the constitutional challenges. To me, the violation of privacy and the order that all Americans shall purchase something, whether they want it, need it, can afford it, already have it, or not. Purchase something that the government approves of are the two most obvious unconstitutional aspects of this. There are many others. It's against the Constitution for the Congress to tell a state legislature how it must legislate and how it must spend. That's called commandeering the legislature. That's been prohibited for many years, but the Congress does does it and gets away with it anyway. But
well, hold on. That's another key point you just rattled off, is that and we've heard the state legislatures and governors and attorney generals talk about this, and it's in the bill, that it in some cases doubles the amount of money that states must levy to give to Medicare and Medicaid.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Now, normally, when the Congress wants to control a state legislature, it bribes it. So, for example, did you ever wonder why speed limits are the same all around the country? Did you ever wonder why the blood alcohol content in a person's veins sufficient to charge them for drunk driving is the same in every state? Did all 50 states just magically adopt the same standards? No. The Congress adopted the standards, was told by its lawyers these standards wouldn't fly because the Constitution doesn't authorize the Congress to do this. So the Congress went to the states and said, here's hundreds of millions of dollars to repave your highways. But if you accept this money, you have to legislate about speed limits and blood alcohol content as we want. That's a bribe. If you or I, Alex, or anybody listening to us now went to a state legislature and said, here's cash, now write the law the way I want it, we would be arrested, and rightly so, for attempted bribery. In this case, with this health care legislation, there is no bribe. There is an outright command from the Congress to the state legislatures. You shall license more physicians. You shall spend more money. When the Congress does that, that's called commandeering a state legislature. And the Supreme Court in the past 15 years has twice prohibited the Congress from doing that. So that's another unconstitutional aspect of this. It invades an area of state sovereignty, the regulation of the medical profession, reserved to the states.
So we're right back to the Declaration of Independence, where they talk about unelected governors coming in and overriding the legislatures, commanding them, taxation without representation. The Democrats know this is all illegal, and I guess that's why Limbaugh and others are openly saying they may try martial law. Now they want to take over the internet with cybersecurity. We'll talk about it all straight ahead. Stay with us.